What the heck is going on in the German football league? Hello everyone, welcome to Peanuts and Egos. This is a podcast about football. Football at the highest levels, football internationally, football all over the world. My name is Denauld Brown. I've coached football for over 20 years at various levels, Division I in the NFL Europe most notably. I am a former GFL football coach in the city of Bielefeld in 2014 and in Munich, Germany in 2015. The nature of this podcast, which is to talk about the NFL strategic plan about international play across the world, across the globe, right? They play international games in Europe. They've now played an international game with my Philadelphia Eagles in South America against Green Bay this year. They have a global footprint, and the genesis of that footprint, I feel, comes from the NFL Europe League. A league I both played in and coached in for 4 seasons in various cities like Barcelona. I was in Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland, and then Hamburg, Germany for 2 seasons. So it's an interesting league, an interesting plan, lots of conversation, lots of questions, lots of drama, so it seems. All right, so you have 3 major organizations when it comes to football in Europe, especially in Germany. You have the European League of Football, you have the GFL, and you have the AFVD. As a former football coach in the GFL, you know, the politics in Germany are super, they're big. Because the bureaucracy that they have as far as paperwork and red tape can, you know, it's daunting as an American to kind of bear witness to that. So the AFVD, which is the governing body of football basically in the country of Germany, is having beef with Patrick Asumi, and so Pat, being that he really understands both sides of the football world. He understands Germany and he understands America. And here's why. Pat's been in the NFL for a long time. He's been at the highest levels of football, even higher than a lot of American coaches. He's super smart. He understands offense, defense, and special teams really well. I would consider him an expert in football tactics. So because he understands that side of it, I don't see the German Football League or the AFVD really understanding the reality of what the NFL is trying to accomplish. The NFL wants to, I think, at least at a minimum, build a huge fan base.
Just for everybody who made this possible.
Rather than necessarily putting a team in Europe, I think people will always be curious about if the NFL would actually really realistically put a team in Germany. But I don't think that would happen before they put one in the UK or in London, right? But I think that playing regularly every year a European game or a game in Europe, when it comes to an NFL team, I think would be attractive to play 3 or 4 games a year and just be able to kind of cultivate football in Europe and use Germany as the center of that world. So that being said, it's just, he's a really smart, and I just don't see the GFL winning this one long term. I think Pat is a long-term thinker. I think he already has this thing in place, and I think he has the backing of the NFL. I mean, I don't know that for sure. That's just my guess, right, when it comes to his relationship. It's also my educated guess that the NFL, I mean, based on, I did some scouting over in Germany, you know, over the years when I was part of the NFL Europe League, and so you saw some talented players. Actually, I coached some. You know, because every team had to have a player from that country, or at least someone who wasn't American to be a player on the team. So I coached a lot of German players. And there were some guys who were actually really good. Good enough to start on Sundays, you know, a few of them, yes, but mostly no. But I think the NFL realizes that if there's going to be a player that's going to play in the NFL, he probably would likely come from Germany. Because you have German players who are playing in college these days. I don't know all their names, but I do know that there are a few guys who've played. And if you can find a player in a skill position like a receiver, a quarterback, probably not, but a receiver, a tight end, someone with the ball in their hand, I think the NFL is prepared to put an NFL franchise in Germany if they had a pipeline of players coming from Europe into the NFL. So Germany is fertile ground for the NFL as far as the fan base, because there's a large fan base in Germany that's been growing for many, many years, because they've had NFL Europe leagues in Germany. They've built the fan base is already laid there, so it makes sense for the NFL to continue to grow. Like anything else, it always comes down to money, right? I mean, in my experience, like when it came to being paid and kind of being an American living in Germany, it's very unique and very tedious. And what I mean by that is that you have to make sure everything about your contract is exactly the way you want it, because you don't understand the language, you have no idea what the language says. I mean, German contracts, as I've learned, are pretty ironclad when it comes to protecting their citizens or protecting people who are under these contracts. And so that was kind of my saving grace. But trust me, once you get deeper into the politics of the German Football League as a coach, as an American coach, you got to watch your back and your front, and that's just the reality of the leagues.